Alrighty, everybody. So we're gonna start this tier list off at the bottom and go up to the top. So if you just want to see who you should be playing, just get to the end, and I'll explain why I think that character is the best. So we're gonna start with the Warrior Guardian. So each class, there's 4 classes in the cube world and the base without mods, and each one has 2 specializations, and this one is a Guardian. And so Guardian, as kind of the word is made or means, I don't know what I'm saying, means that you are going to guard people, right? And I think what this is supposed to be is a tank. And the issue with being a tank in Cube World right now is that there is not very good multiplayer. Maybe if you're on like landline connected, there could be some good multiplayer, but over the internet, all the experiences I have been really bad. And so this class just isn't right for how the game's made right now. Another thing is we think that the coding is incorrect. I was reading on the wiki is that some of the code is incorrect for this character. Its health is 25 points higher than the other warrior specialization, which makes sense if it's supposed to be the tank. But what it's actually supposed to be is 25% more, 25% of its health more, right? So like at 100 it would be 125, but when you go up to 1,000, it would be 25% of 1,000 added to that. But right now it's just 25 more, and so the tank aspect of this just doesn't work, right? It loses a lot of its ability to be a tank. And then also its special power, it's R. When you press R, that's the special powers for these guys, is to it calls attention to the person, which would be good if you're a tank, right? It aggroes the people around you. But again, you can't play with other people really, and so it doesn't really do much. And then it does help you heal, like it gives you some healing ability, which I really like, but it just doesn't make up for what you're doing. You can't. The discrepancy between what the tank's supposed to be and what it actually is doesn't work, at least in single player. So that's why I put it at number 8. But let's move on to number 7, Rogue. Rogue Ninja. So I kind of was sad to put this one where it is, because I really like ninjas. Like if I could go back and relive my life, I would train to be a ninja, right? But the issue is that the ninja, the big issue is mana. So mana in this game, I don't really know what to compare it to, because for some things like the Mage class, obviously mana is magic, so it uses mana to do its attacks, right? Well, some of its attacks. But for other things, for ninja, what does mana really mean? Well, it allows you to do what I think is the best move that the rogue has, which when you shift and right click, I believe, speeds you towards an enemy, knocks them down, and you can attack them. And the only way to get mana with the rogue ninja is to hit things, which you have your ninja stars, so you can hit things far away, get some mana, and when they come closer you can use your thing. Then you have to be hitting them, and the issue with that is you die pretty quick. Obviously these are like the very basic levels of these characters, but I think it's kind of flawed in that you can't get mana in other ways, because the best move you have needs that mana, and so it just really depreciates how the ninja does in battle. So we're going to move on to a ranger sniper. I was kind of sad to put this one here too, because whenever I like to play games, I like to be a sniper, right? Just like long shot, hit them, they're gone, one shot, right? Well, that's not really how the sniper works, unlike other games. But also, there's just some fundamental issues with this class. One thing is you can shift and become invisible, slash, no, invisible. I'll say invisible for right now because I can't think of the word. Stealthy, right? Which, you know, as a sniper, that's kind of something you want. But the issue is when you shoot something from really far away, they couldn't see you anyways. And now you've shot them, and they know exactly where you are because they don't die in one hit, and it's a video game, so they come directly at you, right? And so this invisibility thing just does not help. Like, maybe if you're trying to sneak past the enemies, but in all other situations, it's totally useless. And I just don't see much of a point for it. One thing with the Ranger is it is a much more skill-based class, I think, because of how the arrows work. They appeal to gravity like most things do in the world. And so they move down a little bit, so you have to be better at aiming. And so maybe me putting this sniper so low isn't totally fair because it's skill-based, but I still think it's pretty justified. I do like its power though. It creates a shadow of you, and so you can pretty much do double the damage for a limited amount of time, but that only helps you so much when the people get close, right? When the person is close, you're pretty much dead with the Ranger unless you just run away. And so it's just the Ranger sniper specifically. So that's kind of sad. But we'll move on to number 5, which is the Rogue Assassin. Now, I've actually played quite a bit of Cube World with the Rogue Assassin, so I was kind of sad to put it at number 5, but there's some issues with it as well. The main issue that had to deal with the ninja has been kind of taken away, because the power for the Rogue Assassin is when you press R, you go into stealth mode, and even if you're still being chased by things, your mana goes up. And so you can quickly turn around, hold shift, and attack, and it does your best attack. And so that is a very useful thing, and that's really the big bonus upon the assassin. Everything else is pretty much the same. It doesn't have long range, but the long range didn't really help the ninja either. So I'm thinking this is really where the real power of the rogue comes in, and why it's significantly better than the ninja specialization. So let's go on to the next one. Number 4 is Warrior Barbarian. So I put Warrior Barbarian as number 4. I originally had it at 5, but I moved it to 4 because of its healing factor. One thing in Cube World that is kind of expensive if you're not the right class is healing. Especially in non-modded Cube World, the health potions are very hard to come by. And those are the best because you can be running while you drink them. So health is kind of a tricky thing to come by. And the Barbarian, every time it hits, it has like a 12 to 15% chance of starting to heal when you are hitting. And so that's just a very useful thing. And it's significantly better than its counterpart, the Guardian, because it's not super based on group play. And its R, so its special move is like a fist attack where it like knocks out a bunch of enemies, and that gives you a lot of options. It does leave you pretty far away from the people, but if you're just about to die, you can press that, knock them down, and get out of it, right? That's really nice, especially because this is an up-close person, so you're going to want something that if you need an emergency get-out-of-jail-free card, that's a good move to have. But it's also good because you get to knock them down and you can try to run back to them and get them some more. But I really don't think melee is kind of hard in general, I think, in video games to get right, just because you take a lot of abuse, but you might not be able to give as much back, right? Anyways, at least with, I guess, for example, Terraria, the melee is just not as good as the long ranges, especially the magic. So I think this is really why the warrior taps out at number 4 and can't be any higher. Number 3, Fire Mage. Mage with the specialization of fire magic. Long range, also, I mean, that's always very nice. If you can hit them and they can't hit you, that's a good thing. It's also pretty powerful. The attacks, the special attack especially, it has a bunch of giant fireballs, right, that come from the sky and knock the people over and does a bunch of damage, and it's just all around really good. The middle click, if you hold it, you move your hands and you teleport, which is the same for the other mage class, but it's just kind of, it can be useful to get places that you otherwise might not be able to get to. One funny thing about the mage is that there's a glitch with its float, which is shift. If you hold shift and press space at the right time, you can kind of just fly, which isn't really supposed to happen, but you know, since it's in the game right now, I think it's part of the character, right? And so that's for both mages. But let's move on to the coveted number 2 spot. Honestly, number 2 and number 1 were pretty close, so if you want to do either one, I think either one's very good. This is the Ranger Scout. So you might be surprised by this, that it would be number 2 in my rankings, because I put the other Ranger all the way at 7, so the second worst, and this is the second best. The reason this is so good is because it kind of eliminates all the negatives of the other Ranger. You still have the skill base of shooting the arrows. But instead of dying pretty much immediately when they run up to you and get to you, this special power is a sand trap, and it stops the enemies from moving pretty much. I mean, they move still, but super slow. And that gives you the opportunity to A, run away and get far again, because you're a ranger, you need to be far away, or it just gives you time to shoot it and kill it, right? Because it takes a long time for that creature to get out of it. And to be fair, to be honest, I think it's a little bit overpowered because of how slow the creatures move in it. You just can keep hitting them for a long time, and then if you knock them over in it, and then they have to get up again, it's a very, very powerful special, and makes the Ranger so good. The Ranger Scout makes the Ranger class so good. So if you want to play Ranger, I definitely suggest Scout. Also, one thing special about the Scout is that he doesn't have the invisibility, which, I mean, like I said, that can be useful, but for the class itself, the way it's built, not super useful. And that's what the sniper had, and that's no longer part of this, so you kind of just, you get back some of the utility of the basic character. that you didn't have with the sniper specialization. Coming in at number 1 is the water mage. So, kind of ironically, the water mage is also sort of support based, which is the reason I had the warrior uh, guardian being last. But I'll explain why I think the mage with the water magic is the best. And well, it pretty much comes all down to healing. Um, if you can stand in your pool of water that comes from your magic attacks or from the wind, I don't know, tornado water, it heals you. And that is very powerful, especially if you, like, you can fight any monster as long as you have enough armor to not die immediately. You can pretty much heal back up to full. I love its attacks. When I played as the water mage, I really enjoyed using the bracelets, because once you hit something, if you hit it again and again and again, it speeds up. And not only does that mean you're doing more damage to the creature that's coming towards you, but once it gets to you, which is the problem with other ranged things, once it gets to you, now you're hitting it so fast, you have so much healing ability because there's so much water around you. And so you're healing as you're getting hurt, and it's pretty makes you indestructible unless you are fighting something that can do more damage than what you can heal. Another issue with his power is his power. It's okay, but it's also, I think, based sort of to have a more group-based help, because it does hurt the people, the things that it's attached to, but it also heals the people that are around it when the bubbles pop. So that is also sort of group-based. So maybe Water Mage should be number 2, but I just think the healing aspect of the water is so good that you can't argue for anything else except maybe the Scout Ranger. Anyways, so that's my suggestions. If you guys want to be playing Cube World, I would either play with the Water Mage or the Scout Ranger. I think you'll probably just have the most enjoyable time playing with those two classes and specializations. Anyways, I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.